Welcome back to another star-studded episode of Disclosure, live from the basement of the Voice of Prophecy headquarters in beautiful downtown Loveland, Colorado. My name is Sean Boonstra. Joining me in studio today is the lovely and talented Jean Boonstra, who I must say is looking particularly beautiful in her radio headphones.
In my radio headphones.
Well, those
yes.
those do you a favor. I've always thought you were cute, but you're especially cute with headphones on.
Well, thank you, I think.
Yep. And not only do you look magnificent, you are my bride of almost 25 long years. They went by quickly for me, but probably not so quickly for you, right?
I just can't believe it's been almost 25 years.
I know.
It's
Remember
surreal.
when you were a kid and people married 25 years were old? And
right. I remember your parents' 25th wedding anniversary, my parents' 25th wedding anniversary.
Yeah, when you're a kid,
weird.
Someone who's married 25 years is practically ready for the home.
Right?
Yeah, and,
I know.
Do you hear the difference in my voice today?
Yeah, you have a cold. You've been sick all weekend. It was terrible.
I know. We're sitting across a desk from each other, and I'm breathing my cold in your direction.
You are, but I think it originated with me, so I feel like I'm probably immune to it coming back to me.
I haven't had a cold in 10 years. It's been 10 years since I've had a cold of any kind. And it just, bang, came out of the blue. I was flying home, and although, listen, it does lower my voice for radio.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I wonder if I could have a cold all year long. I could be I don't know. I could be one of those people whose voices I really coveted. I know coveting is wrong, but I coveted their voices when I was a kid.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to suffer with the symptoms of a cold just for the deep voice all year, do you?
I don't know. Listen, listen, although it cracks a little bit on the top end, but listen to, I could be Casey Kasem, or do you remember all those voices on the radio when you were a kid?
Yeah, you're dating yourself, but yes, I do.
Yeah. I suppose millennials might not know who Casey Kasem was. I think Casey Kasem is actually gone. He's dead.
I think so. I think he is. He did pass away.
I don't know if that's actually true, but I think that I heard. I think that I heard that he's gone.
Sounds right to me too. But
well, let's talk about something else from our personal life besides colds. Oh, I just cleared my throat on the radio for the first time in my entire life. This is, you have to tune into Disclosure to get that kind of quality radio.
There you go.
Right. I maybe need to sit a little further back from the microphone, and that way the people listening won't catch my cold.
There you go.
Because you can totally transmit you've heard of computer viruses, right? I could infect all the
virus.
equipment, and then it'll come out the other end and infect the... No, actually, we're a little brighter than that here. A little bit.
Yes, we are.
Not much. My wife's quite a bit brighter than that. Me, I'm just sort of tagging along. Today we're going to talk about something personal, really personal. And here's what we're going to talk about. And it'll be happening to some of you out there, and it will be happening to many of you eventually. And to some of you, this has already happened. What are we talking about? What happens when your kids grow up and leave house, right? When they leave you with an empty nest. It just happens to be the stage of life we're going through right now. This past year, our oldest child went away to college. And even though our youngest, Naomi, is still in high school, she's actually at a boarding academy because... well, living with our schedule isn't fair to a high school kid, is it?
No, we tried it. Our oldest daughter tried that same school as a community student for a year, and it was just really, really difficult on her and on the whole family. So this has been the option we have chosen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the road anywhere from 100 to 200 days in a year, and it wasn't fair to our kids ever because, but Dad,
so
we have something going on at the school this weekend. Yeah, but I travel most weekends, and
right.
It was just so here we are. We're empty nesters. We're mostly empty nesters. And I've got to say, I will start by saying this. As a recently liberated man, there are aspects. Now, I love my children. Don't get me wrong.
I know you do.
But there are aspects of this that I deeply appreciate. For example, I can walk around in my boxer shorts. I can just walk around my castle in my boxer shorts, and I can streak from the shower to the dresser without having to think, ooh, is the bedroom door open? I don't have to think about that at all. Right? Oh, do the kids have their friends over? I can walk out with my hair uncombed, picking my nose, and do all that stuff. Just walk around the house. It's my castle again.
Yes, and you're enjoying that freedom.
Yeah,
definitely.
I am.
A little much, maybe, but you're enjoying it.
And of course, it's kind of cool that we can come home at any hour we please now. We don't have to think, oh, what about supper for the kids?
Right.
And so now we work all that much longer. We'll come home at 9 o'clock at night.
Put in longer days, unfortunately.
Yeah. But there is nobody waiting at home that needs us right now.
Right.
I will say this. I think I'm probably enjoying this more than you are.
Yes, definitely. I have gotten used to it, and there are definitely things that I appreciate about it too. But it's been more of a transition and more of a mourning process for me, I think, than it has been for you.
Not morning, afternoon, and evening.
Right. MOURNING. Right. Right.
All right. Well, here's what we've done, folks. We decided on what the topic was today, and we have not compared notes.
Right.
We both sort of gathered our thoughts on the empty nest and some biblical thoughts, obviously, because Disclosure is a Bible-based program and so on. And we haven't looked at each other's notes, and we're meeting together in studio to discuss this. But before we start that process, here's a factoid.
Okay.
You know, every good radio show probably needs a factoid.
Absolutely.
Something to amaze and dazzle the listeners, right? Here it is. Empty nest syndrome is something that is new from our generation, maybe our parents' generation. It didn't really exist 100 years ago. Here's what I found. In 1900, which I know to our kids seems like forever ago, but I actually knew people born in the 1800s when I was a kid, right? So, but in 1900, not that far back, if a woman got married in the year 1900, I discovered, she could probably, on average, expect to be a widow by the age of 60 because women tended to be younger than the men they married. And so the husband would be 62, 63, 64, and he's
or
gone.
Older.
Yeah. He's gone by the time she's 60.
Okay.
And her life expectancy was about 64 in 1900. She was probably going to die at age 64, 4 years after her husband. So that's another form of empty nest if you think about it. The husband is gone, and that's when the woman is finally liberated.
No, I imagine, I hadn't really thought about it, but I imagine that phase of life has a lot of similarities to what we're going through right now, too.
Yeah, and after I'm gone, you can discuss that on the radio.
No, I hope
Oh, no,
not.
Statistically, it's going to be me first.
Oh, Sean.
Which is
Well,
nice.
that's
I don't have
another
to plan a
program.
funeral, and you do.
Well,
You know what I want.
sometimes it doesn't end up that way, does it?
You know what I want, right? You know what I
Yes, I
want.
do.
I want to be in a casket with one eye propped open so when little kids go by, it's creepy.
You're just terrible.
I know. That's not serious. Please, if that offended anybody out there, I'm sorry. Write your complaint letters to Gene Boonstra, Box 999, Loveland, Colorado.
I should have a stack of those on my desk, but I
The
don't.
complaint
for some
letters?
reason.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's no reforming me, but if you talk to Jean, she'll at least sympathize. All right. So
Okay,
the woman
so
would
if I was born in 1900.
No, if you got married in 1900.
Married in 1900,
Okay.
you could expect to be a widow by age 60.
You were born in about 1880. Yeah,
Okay.
you'd be a widow
Okay.
at age, well, actually, in 1900, you might have been born in 1882 or 1883.
Yeah.
Your husband was gone by the time you were 60. You were gone by about 64. And you probably had a big passel of children because that was your retirement program, right? You had, I mean, my parents, my dad had, including the two that passed away, I think there were 13 children in all and 8 on mom's side, which is why I have,
Lots of cousins. and
8,000
aunts and
cousins.
uncles.
You haven't even met half of them.
I haven't.
Right.
no.
So lots of children. You're having a child on average about once a year, one every year and a half. And so that woman dying at 64, widowed at 60, her youngest child was probably still at home when she died. Still at home. So there was literally no time to be an empty nester. On top of that, families used to stay locally. I mean, 100 years ago, kids probably stayed in the same town or in the next town over at the most. And
Right. So this woman at 60, she's widowed, but she probably has her married children living close by, and her grandchildren are still actively a part of her family.
But now kids leave for careers at long distances from home, right?
Right,
I mean, we haven't lived near family, anywhere near family, like most of a continent away for about 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're actually immigrants. So that, I mean, it's apples and oranges, I suppose. We're immigrants. We actually have no family in America
Right.
that we know of.
Yeah, it's just the four of us.
Although, you know, if I've got like 2,000 cousins, who knows?
I do have a cousin in the U.S.
Oh,
One
you do?
cousin and her family. Yes.
There you go.
But they don't live
Up in
terribly
Minnesota,
close to
which
us.
is like their bumpers, their license plates should actually say almost Canada. If you live in Minnesota, it should actually say almost Canada.
So you've just
because-
offended all the Minnesotans.
No, they
Or
know
not,
it's
or
cold.
complimented them.
Oh, I complimented them. Are you
By
saying
saying
it's an
almost
insult to be
Canada.
a Canadian?
No. I
You've been an American.
I corrected what I said.
You've been an American for 3 weeks and you're insulting Canadians.
No, I love Canada. You know that.
The other thing that we're seeing now, though, also is the boomerang phenomenon, right?
Right.
Kids are coming home at 30 And now parents are wishing they could be empty nesters.
Right. These kids who go away maybe to college or a first job, and for whatever reason, they just can't find work, or maybe they get a job and they get laid off.
All
and
right, here comes
they
the old
come
school.
back to mom and dad.
Here comes the old school Dutch immigrant. They won't find work.
Yeah.
And they sit in mom's basement playing video games.
No, that's not all of them. Some kids legitimately, they finish a degree and they can't find work in the field that they trained in.
I know.
It's difficult.
But you know what I've told our children?
Yeah, they're not coming back. They
Once
know
you
that.
leave, do not come back.
Right.
I want my castle. I want to walk around in my boxer shorts. Don't. But that is a real phenomenon now. I'm just, if you're living in your mom's basement playing video games, please don't take offense. I understand. I really don't understand, but
Well, it does happen legitimately.
it does. No,
It
no.
really
Some
does.
people I've seen young people who started up on some sort of an enterprise, and it didn't go well, and so they lost everything and had to move home. And in that case, family. I mean, that's the way family was 100 years ago. You stayed together, and
right.
grandma often moved in with the family at the very end, and so that you kind of had childcare built in too. All right, so. Here's what we're going to do. There's only like 2 minutes left in this segment because you've been so chatty as usual.
Chatty Jean.
Yeah. I know. I think I break all known stereotypes as a guy, don't I?
Well, you do, except I've talked to other pastors' wives, and we have sort of an affinity with each other because pastor husbands are not typical husbands. They are talkative. They're the last person to leave. We're always having to wait for them at church events. So you're not alone in being the chatty husband. Other pastors definitely fit your mold too.
Yeah, but you're just strange about it. I'm an introvert even though I'm chatty. Mm-hmm. I probably won't talk to you until I really get to know you, and then you can't turn the spigot off. Once I'm in,
Right.
I will be the guy that's assaulting your eardrums, making you look for an exit from the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
not quite like
but,
that.
Yeah.
All right, but here's what we're going to do. And now that we're down to like 1 minute because you just can't stop.
I know. Chatty.
All right, we're going to compare notes about why it is that the empty nest syndrome. I mean, I've read and seen. I've actually seen, and maybe we've experienced it a little, that some people actually grieve that process. And so what we've done, we have not compared notes. We're going to, after the break, we're going to talk about what we've observed about why that phase of life is difficult for so many people.
Yeah.
And it'll be ladies first after the break.
Okay.
Because if you don't start,
Yeah, I might never get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, I know.
But it's interesting, Sean. We're married. We're going through this experience together. And our perspective is the same in many ways, but it's very different also.
Radically different.
Very different.
People can say all they want that men and women are, there are no gender differences in the way we approach life. There definitely are.
Yeah.
And, it'll be anecdotal, the evidence we're providing, but it's anecdotal based on 25 years of watching this as a pastor. And so after the break, we're going to talk about empty nest syndrome, why it's tough for some people. My beautiful wife will go first because I think actually you're the one who thinks more about this than I do. And it's really probably been more of a struggle for you than it has been for me.
Yeah, it was actually my suggestion to you that we do a program on this topic.
So we're going to take a break. You want to get a pen and pencil and write down all of this important information because an amazing offer from the Voice of Prophecy is about to grace your ears, and you do not want to miss this. I'm Sean Boonstra. You're listening to Disclosure. I'll be right back.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like, Does my life really matter to God? And A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter most to you in each of the 26 Discover Bible Guides. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
And that's the end of the break. I guess we've got to get back to work here in the studio, Gene. Yeah, the show is Disclosure. My name is Sean Boonstra, and across the desk for me is my wife, Jean Boonstra. And we're discussing something today that is actually going on in our lives right now, and that's empty nest syndrome.
Right.
Bang! We were suddenly middle-aged parents, and our kids are leaving home. Our oldest went away to college this past year, and our youngest is at a boarding academy. So we're on the front edge of empty nest, and dealing with it in a variety of ways. And what we've done is compared notes. Well, we haven't compared notes. What we've done is jotted down our ideas over the last few days. And what we're going to discuss now is what we think some of the issues are with kids leaving home, how parents process that. Now, maybe your kids are little. You've got toddlers. They're 2 years old, and you long for the day that the nest is empty because you haven't slept in a year and you're tired of them, coloring with crayon on your furniture or, you kind of miss those days, don't you?
Oh, I do. But, I don't think this phrase was original to my mom, but she said it to me when our girls were little, and it really stuck with me because the days are long, but the years are short.
Ooh.
And it's so accurate because when your kids are little, the days are exhausting. You get them into bed and you kind of just, you collapse right along with them. But the years just seem to go by so quickly.
Not when they're going by. I think they
Not
seem...
when you're in the midst of it, no.
No, they seem shorter when it's...
It feels like it'll never end.
Over.
Yeah.
It's over. All right, so what we've done is we've written down some of our thoughts on why some people really struggle with this phase of life, or maybe a lot of people do. And I think we're going to go ladies first today.
Okay.
So I know you've got notes, and you.
Yeah. Well, Sean, as I have thought about our sitting down and talking about this empty nest syndrome today, I thought it really starts long before the kids leave home because we start thinking about it. From the time that they're little.
Longing for it?
Maybe if you're the dad, but I honestly...
No, I did. Hey, if our children are listening, Natalie and Naomi, I miss you very much.
Oh, they know
Don't
how
move
you
back
feel.
home, but I miss you very much.
But come home for Christmas, right?
That's fine.
Definitely.
For a day or so.
Can't wait for
Yeah,
that.
for a day.
As long as I can have them. They're home.
No, kids, if you're listening out there, don't be too wounded. One day you'll have children and you'll see. May your children be like you. Didn't your
our
parents
girls
ever say
adore
that to you?
you.
May your
Yes.
children be just like you.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it interesting to watch your parents react when the kids go through the various stages? They just sort of laugh and go, uh-huh.
Yeah, not my problem.
Uh-huh.
I do love my children. Let's just put that out there on the table. I
Of course
adore
you
my
do,
children.
And they adore you back.
But we'll talk a little bit about, I think today
Men
we'll
and-
get to the subject of why men probably deal with it better.
Right,
But you're first. Go.
Okay. All right. So long before the kids leave home, we start thinking about this. I remember Sean asking a friend a couple of years ago about her transition was going when her oldest child, who was her daughter, had left for college. I was chatting with her and I said, so how are things going? How's the daughter doing at college? How are you doing? And my friend just said, oh, everything's going fine. I'm doing fine. She's doing fine. But all I can think about is this time next year when my son is also gone, how different that will be.
So that's sort of the phase that we're at. We've got one gone, one at home. Well, she's sort of at home. She comes home on odd weekends.
Yeah, she's home obviously more than the sister who's at college, but she's definitely more independent than I was at her age.
So would that be true of you? You're sitting there thinking, okay, that was tough when my oldest left, but I'm sitting here cringing and thinking about the day when they're both permanently gone.
In a way, but our oldest daughter being at college, she also spent a couple of years in boarding academy. And in some ways, it was harder for me when she was at boarding academy because now she's much further away and I see her less often. She chose to go
1,511 miles. I checked it this morning.
The stubborn little girl chose to go all the way across the country.
Right.
But actually, that we can talk about
She's
how
not a little
that
girl
was part
anymore.
of.
She's
a young woman,
Yes.
right? But I'm so happy for her at this stage now in college. I'm so proud of her. I'm so delighted with how independent she is.
Right.
That
There's only one thing I
It was more
fear.
difficult when she was younger.
Only one
honestly.
thing I fear now that she's away at college.
I know what it is.
Boys.
Exactly.
So
Who's
here's
she
how-
going to bring
yeah,
home?
Here's how this works. If you're going to date my daughter, I hope you're all listening out there in the state of Tennessee. If you're going to date my daughter, I require you to submit an application to Box 999, Loveland, Colorado.
Okay. What do
And
they
that can be
need?
addressed to me.
This
Now, just
full resume.
tell me what your intentions are. Tell me what you're going to do for a living.
Okay.
Just tell me a little bit about yourself and why you think you're the ideal candidate to take my daughter on a date.
Poor Natalie.
Yeah.
Oh, she hasn't had it easy with you as her dad in that department.
Nope.
No, you've done your job. You've protected her.
I
and
have.
that is your job as a dad. You've protected those girls.
I'm watching you, Tennessee.
Yep.
I'm watching you. I have eyes everywhere.
Yes. All right, Sean.
Yep.
So, as our girls are adolescents, it's interesting how it works. As they're going through these changes and embracing independence, we're changing too.
Speak for yourself.
We are. We're hey, we've been married
I look
almost 25 years.
I look exactly like I did the day you met me.
You look the same to me. But yeah.
No, but I pulled out the pictures. It's not true.
I know.
No,
I
we're
know
different.
It's not true.
No.
But somehow in the back of our minds, it's almost true. But I read a book recently, Sean, and it's just called The Family. And it was written by a married couple, Doctors Jack and Judy Balswick. And they have some really, really great insights exactly on this phase of life that we're in.
All right. Lay that wisdom on me.
Okay. Our kids are hitting adolescence. The same time we're hitting midlife. That's true for most people.
Which is your second adolescence. And I don't
for
mean
men.
that as a joke.
For men,
Yep,
it can be.
Yeah.
So as our girls are spreading their wings, we are coming to terms, we and others of our age and our generation, we're coming to terms with the fact that the reality is the stuff that we dreamed about in college, the goals, the plans, the aspirations, a lot of those things just aren't going to happen.
No, that is not true. I'm still going to have a band and I'm going to be an astronaut.
Nope.
I understand
Sorry to break it to
I
you.
understand that I'm almost 50, but it's not too late. I'm still going to be an astronaut.
Well, if you make that happen, I'll be exceptionally proud of you.
Yeah. I don't think they're looking for guys like me.
No, that's just the reality.
I'm the wrong stuff.
Sean, we set out leaving college or our first jobs, and we
Yep.
do have these dreams and desires. And, the reality of life is there's only time to pursue a couple of things well, and really only one thing well. And that means maybe all those other side ideas we had at a certain point in life, we have to let them go, or we have to make a decision to change our focus.
Yeah.
So
Yep. No,
that's
it's
sort of-
true.
That's the reality that hits you in midlife. It's like you realize you don't have endless opportunities. You have to keep going on the path you're on, or you have to change.
Yeah, you do wake up one morning and realize that you've burned through more than half a tank of gas in your life,
Right.
figuratively speaking. And that, okay, I was going to do this, and this with my life, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
No, it's true. There's really only, for women, yeah, you'll get one or two or three things done with your life and do them well. But for a lot of guys, we can't really multitask, and we tend to do one thing well for a lifetime. Hopefully do that well.
And you can transition. A lot of people, of course, do that. And oftentimes in midlife, it's a chance to say, okay, for the next 20-ish years of my working career, do I want to stay on the path I'm on, or do I want to switch
Right.
focus? So,
Well, there is a bit of a focus shift. And I don't want to wander too far off the topic because we are going to get back to kids leaving home
Right.
and some of the observations that you've had. But it's true. When your kids are leaving home, you're kind of going through your own second adolescence.
Absolutely.
Your midlife crisis. And there's this shift in my mind. Like in my 20s, it's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be that and I'm going to do that. And now as I'm sitting here let's be honest, the finish line isn't that far down the road. There's less distance to the finish line than there is to my birth, half the distance.
I mean, statistically, that's true.
And so for me, the one thing that matters now, it's not careers, and although those are always going to be important to men, I want to know that by the time it comes time for me to punch the clock, is God smiling about my life?
Have I done something that made a difference?
Is he going to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant?
Right.
That's what matters now.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you, if you're in your 20s, make that matter now because you're going to have an easier time when you get to this age.
Yeah, good counsel.
Yeah.
Good
All right.
counsel.
So kids leaving home, we're in our midlife
So
crisis,
it's
and
all,
the kids are
all
leaving
happening.
home.
It's all happening at the same time. And men and women, certainly, and this is a generality, but generally speaking, we handle this transition differently.
we
We
do.
really, really do. And there's a study, again, in the book I just referenced by Dr. Daniel Levinson, that the Doctors Balswick reference. And when I read it not too long ago, I guess it was about 9 months ago that I read this book, just as we are going through all of these transitions in our life, wow, it was like the lights went on and it just spoke to me and I understood a lot of things, made really, really good sense. So here we are, men going through this phase of life. We have a lot of cliches for men in their midlife crises, don't we?
Do. They're not
They go
fair.
out and they buy the sports car and maybe they dye their hair and get some new cool clothes.
Now, you will notice, I mean, I don't quite fit that cliche, but sometime at about 40, I quit wearing suits and ties.
Yeah, you did. You just kind of said, okay, I'm at a phase of life. I'm just going to dress how I want to dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I don't know that I dress cool, though.
You're
hesitating. Oh, no. She's hesitating. Tell me I'm still cool.
Listen, you dress very nicely for your age. What I'm talking about is I'm talking about the cliche of the guys who are 50-ish and they're dressing like their 20-year-old sons. And you see women kind of do that too.
I still
There's a
fit into my
segment of
high
women
school
that do
clothes.
that.
I still fit into my high school clothes.
You really don't have any of those left.
You threw them out. That's
held
why
on to
I
them
don't
for
have
a
any of
long
those left.
time, but
Yeah,
I
you
managed
threw
to
those
purge
out.
them all.
Yeah. All right. I'll admit it. But men sort of go
Okay.
through the, oh, no, I'm running out of time.
Right.
And see, I wasn't cool when I was younger. So,
So,
I only have so much
last
time left to
chance.
be cool.
Right. And it's a cliche, but it
Yeah.
sort of gives us a visual of what men are going through at this stage.
I didn't get a sports car.
No, you didn't.
You owe me a sports car.
I owe you a sports car.
It says right here on your. I'm looking at your notes across the desk, and it says men get a new wardrobe and a sports car in their midlife crisis, and I didn't get the sports car.
And it says grasping at youth. Did you read that part?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it's that's sort of symbolic of what's going on for men. And men, not only are they going through this transition, there are a lot of other really deep things going on outside of the cliches. Men tend to mellow at this stage of life.
Okay, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I see we're a minute from the break, and so you're gonna say this, and then we'll argue about it during the break.
Uh-oh.
Did Sean mellow when he hit midlife?
Absolutely.
No, he did not. I'm just
Yes,
as
you
virile
did.
and aggressive as I was when you met me. I was 19 back then. I'm still full of vigor. Did I mellow?
Yes, you did.
I mellowed.
You did.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm. Definitely good.
I don't know.
It's good. And we
I
can
don't
talk
know.
about it after the
All
break.
the young guys in the booth are laughing at Mellow Sean. I don't like that.
It's a good thing, Sean. It's
All
a
right.
good
My
thing.
voice
at
is
this
definitely
phase of
mellower
life.
today. I hear the music. Do you know what that means? We're about to take a break. You're going to listen to an amazing offer from the Voice of Prophecy, and Gene and I are going to argue about whether or not I'm mellow. Mellow. We're in the state of Colorado. You have to be careful calling people mellow
That's
because in
true.
this state, people get mellow for the wrong reasons.
Well, Sean, after the break, I will clarify and I will explain, I promise.
Yeah, all right. All right, we're about to take a break. I'm Sean Boonstra. I'm with my wife, Jean. This is Disclosure, flagship program from the people at the Voice of Prophecy Radio Network. We're about to take a break. You want to write down all of this information because we have an amazing free offer for you. And when we come back, we'll find out just how mellow I am.
Creation, evolution. Where did the world come from? Where did you come from? Were you created in an instant? Did you evolve from another animal or life species? These are issues that are discussed in classrooms, textbooks, and sometimes around your break table at work, when the conversation suddenly turns serious. These kinds of questions are answered in our free Discover Bible Guides. These 26 beautifully illustrated guides cover all the major themes of the Bible, and they answer some of the hardest questions of life. You can get your free copy just for the asking by contacting me. Go to VOP.com and click on the tab that says Study. That's VOP.com, the tab that says Study, or phone me, 888-456-7933. That's 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides, available just for the asking.
Well, I guess that's all the break we get. That wasn't enough time for a nap.
No, or an argument.
No,
Neither
not
one.
enough time for an argument. All right, listen, before the break, we were talking about what happens when kids start leaving home, and you were talking about the fact that the parents often are going through changes too. We're hitting midlife crisis, and then you accused me of becoming mellower in my old age.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
I don't know. Maybe being a little more mellow.
Well, listen, I don't want to pick on you. I've talked to a number of men who are your age or older, and I'll use my own dad as an example. Okay.
All right.
So,
are you listening, Dad? Are you listening?
He wouldn't mind this at all. You know, growing up, I'm the oldest of 3 kids, and you know I love my dad. I always say I have a top 5 people in the world list, and he's right there on my top 5. I love my dad a lot.
All right,
And-
Dad, that should probably get a bigger birthday present next year with that one right there.
Yeah.
No, he's a
No,
great guy.
he is.
All right.
You know, I
and he
love my
listens
dad.
to the show, so I know he's going to hear what you're
Well,
about
and
to
he
say.
introduced me to you, so you know.
That was your best move, Rick. Best move.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But you know, my dad, when we were little kids, he obviously was busy with his career, and he spent a lot of time with us, and he was a great dad. But seeing him now as a granddad to our kids and my nieces and nephews, he's a different person. I mean, my dad will, even before he was retired, he would set aside whatever he was working on, and I have a picture of our oldest daughter and my niece, when they were about 2, of my dad taking them for a walk up the street. And he's got 2, you know, in each hand, he's got a little 2-year-old holding his hand. He's so patiently walking them up the street. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful picture of how his focus, and you started to say it before the break, making a difference and leaving that legacy and that impact became a priority.
Well, you're
for
running
him.
out of time to change the world. And I
Right.
think there comes a point you realize your career's not going to change the world.
Yeah,
And your
yeah.
career doesn't define you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what it is, though? Once we hit about, I don't know, 40, 45, some point in my rearview mirror, way in my rearview mirror now, your testosterone starts to drop. I think there's also
there
a
are some
biological correlation.
physical things too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's men at this stage are struggling to continue to pursue the goals that they set in their younger years. And yet they do have this instinct to be a little bit more nurturing. And maybe you
No.
don't like that word, but it's just a description of what's
Would you
happening.
describe me as nurturing?
Yeah, in many ways you are nurturing.
I guess I did go into pastoring.
Yes.
And I do enjoy that. When somebody's struggling spiritually, I do enjoy that. Yeah.
So that's part of the midlife change that's happening as our kids are struggling to branch off and be on their own. But men also, too, and Levinson describes this in his study, how there's a struggle for you guys at this stage where you want to bond closely with others. And I know for you, Sean, you know, you are an
I don't know.
introvert.
I don't know about this
we've
one.
talked about it on the show that you are an introvert, but you're very close to me, of course.
Yeah.
And you want to bond closely. And yet you also want to balance that with the need to prove that you can get by on your own and that you're as independent as you ever
I
were.
don't know.
So
I
there's
might-
this
I might
polarity that's
challenge
happening.
Levinson a little bit on this one.
Okay.
I want more time with you because of the years that the kids took so much of your time and so on. I want to reclaim some of that. But studies that I've looked at reveal that most middle-aged men have virtually no friends, a handful or none.
But do you think then that that's a product of them being so busy up until that stage of
Yeah,
life? And maybe
probably.
being at midlife is a chance to step back and say, why don't I have any friends?
Yeah,
Maybe
probably.
I should be more intentional about sitting down and having a meal or something with someone and just bonding with
Yeah,
them.
that sounds ducky.
I'm going really into a
I think I'm
territory
gonna-
you're not comfortable
Yeah,
with.
I think I'm going to
but-
go out there and make a new friend today, and we'll send her a rainbow.
Listen, all the women listening to me are like, I hear you, Gene. I hear what you're saying. They're
all
with
right.
me.
All right. Men are probably in denial about this, but not many of us have a lot of friends past 40 because we're jerks in our work career and everybody left.
Well, no, Levinson talks about that.
Oh, he does?
You've had.
Oh, I just
you
played
know
into
what?
my wife's hands
Yeah.
on radio. I just played right into her hands.
You've seen whether you've had to. You use the word jerk, so I'll use that. Whether you've had to be the jerk or you've had other people in the workplace play that role to you. Midlife is sort of where you have to decide, okay, am I going to be that person or am I going to take a different path?
So here's the question. Here's the question that I have for you, and out of the blue. when God is described as a father
Mm-hmm.
in the Bible, is he the father at 25 who's, or is he the father at 65?
That's a good question. I think he's both because, of course, God's so much more complex than we as humans are. But he's I see him more in that granddad role.
I know, but isn't that a bit of a
Definitely.
cliche? Is that not a bit of a cliche?
No, I don't think so.
Is God the kindly grandfather?
No, because he's both. I mean, children need grandparents and fathers for two reasons. You need that dad to kind of protect you
Right.
and encourage you to get out there, be independent, and not kind of overly shelter you. But you need that loving person who loves you no matter what, too. And God's all of those things and so much more.
Well, the images of God in the Bible, you've got God the Father in a father role, but you've also got Jesus the Son, God the Son, who acts as a brother. He's described as a groom or a husband in the Bible. And I think all of the whole spectrum of, if I were to look at that as a husband, a father, and a man, the whole thing is there. And hopefully, as you move through life and you're trying to live in harmony with God's Word, you grow more and more like Christ. That's who we're supposed to become like. But hopefully our father qualities grow more and more like God the Father
Absolutely.
as well.
And they mature and deepen. And,
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think men, as they're in this midlife phase, if they've experienced some of these dealing with some of these polarities, these changes in baby steps throughout the years, they have an easier time in midlife. And that's true for us as women too. If we deal with some of these things piecemeal, rather than just all of a sudden when we're at this age, when our kids are branching out and we're in midlife, it's easier. So, Sean, let me talk from my perspective and referring to Levinson's study as well about how it's different. We've talked about how men go through this a little bit. How is it different for men? Because we don't talk as much about women and the midlife crisis. There aren't as many cliches. We talk about us going through menopause. There are lots of jokes
that's a pretty
and cliches
big one.
there.
I think we talk about that a lot.
We talk about that, but menopause and midlife are not necessarily synonymous. They don't necessarily happen at the same time. So Levinson spends a good amount of time that was really eye-opening for me in his study, showing how women who work outside of the home, and in today's day and age, that's most women, that we struggle in a couple of really specific ways as our kids are leaving, as we face an empty nest. We struggle to define our role and what we're called to do. So what do I mean by that exactly? Well, we struggle with polarities, okay? So we want to uphold the traditional view of marriage, and yet we also want to experience more independence and more equality in our public roles at this stage of life.
Right. Now, you're probably angering a whole bunch of, well, I'll call them radical groups that say that,
How so?
How dare you say that women would ever adhere to a traditional view of marriage? I mean, that shouldn't even be appealing to you.
It's appealing to many, many women.
Yeah,
it's
I
very
know.
appealing.
I agree with that, but I'm just I get tired of people saying that there are no. Look, we're not talking equality, but I hear all the time, oh, there's no such thing as a gender difference. Absolutely there is. We look at things completely differently. And yeah, maybe part of that is culture, but part of it seems to be universal around the world and seems to be sort of innate. It's hardwired, or pre-written maybe is a better way to say it rather than hardwired. Anyway, I just thought I'd say you're right. For you, and for many Christian women in particular, they relish their role as a Christian mother and wife.
And at the same time, and this really, I think when you hit this midlife and you realize your kids are going to be leaving, you have this opportunity, just as men have this opportunity to think, okay, do I want to keep doing what I've been doing these last 20 years? Or do I want to stop? Do I want to open my own business? Do I want to move somewhere warm and, have a little hut where I rent out surfboards? It's the time where we, as women, as our
I am
roles
so
are
glad
changing.
I married you. That sounds wonderful.
Doesn't it sound
We're going to rent
amazing?
surfboards on the beach
Yeah, that sounds great.
and coconut water. We'll serve coconut water into coconut shell.
There you go. But this is a chance, and
I think the
maybe
show's over. We need to pack.
we're out of here.
Yeah, that sounds great.
As let me speak from the perspective of a Christian woman. This is a Bible show, and we spend those early years in our marriages and in raising our children because that's what we want to be doing, and we may be juggling work and family, which I did always. I always was doing both. But when you see those kids launching out on their own, it's a chance to think, okay, now what do I want to do? And Sean, honestly, from my perspective, it's been interesting to me. I knew that when the kids left, there were all kinds of things I wanted to do. You know, I've wanted to work on my master's for a long time, and I started that last year. We launched a great new kids program here at the ministry called Discovery Mountain, a series of other things. But I have been surprised by how much I have also wanted to continue to do the traditional things. Here's a random example, baking. I've never been much of a baker our whole married life. I've kind of seen it as a chore, something I had to do. But it's like at this season of life, I want to do both. I want to work on my master's. I want to bake cookies. I want to do all of it all day.
Would that
all the
include
time.
raisin oatmeal cookies? Would that include those?
It would. Could
I
that
don't
make
really
you
like
happy?
sweets and cookies. I don't like
Yeah.
cookies very much with that. I do love 2 kinds of cookies. So just write this down. If you've got a hankering for baking, I think you need to I like oatmeal raisin and I like speculoos.
Yes, I know that. I made you speculoos once early in our marriage.
And I
They
know
didn't-
people are saying, what in
it
the
didn't
world is
turn out.
speculoos? It's kind of
Ooh,
like this
they're so
Dutch
good.
ginger cookie. If you've ever flown Delta and you get their Biscoff cookies, that's the closest analog out there. It's kind of a European thing. It's a Dutch thing, speculoos cookies. So go ahead,
So
bake.
But the struggle between those two parts of who I am, you know, at this stage of life, I thought I would have clarity and it'd be like, oh, just Jean, you have more time. You can stay at work as late as you want. Just focus on that. But there's still that part of me that wants to do all that other stuff. And in some ways, that desire is stronger than it ever was. And it's just a
Why?
funny part
Why?
of this stage of life.
Why is it stronger now than it used to be? I mean, your kids aren't in the house. Why is it suddenly stronger? Is it because they're not in the house? Are you mourning the fact that they're
Yes.
leaving and that the opportunity has passed?
I think so. I think it's a subconscious sort of a cost benefit, thinking back to the choices I made over the many years, and maybe I wish I would have spent more time. But I did. When they were little, I did.
You spent a lot.
of
You only
time
worked a
baking
little
and-
bit when they were really
I-
little, but
right.
but I guess you stumbled onto something really, I think, that is profound. How many times in life do we get to a point where we realize a phase of our life is over, and did we cash in on it while we were living it? I
That's
think that
right.
about high school.
Absolutely.
Should have enjoyed that. College, I should have enjoyed that because that's the freest you're ever going to be in your whole life is college. And then bang, it's gone. You've got a mortgage and you've got kids and you've got responsibility and then. Well, I hear you saying that. I hear the music too, so it means we're going to have to take a break. But I think you've hit something profound there. You're having trouble letting go of the last phase because it's not coming
Definitely.
back.
Definitely.
It's not coming back. All right, if you're a parent, listen carefully. We're talking about when your kids leave home, and if they haven't done it yet, they will one day. At least you hope they do, and they thrive and move on and make a success of life. You're listening to Disclosure. We've got one more segment left right after this break. We're going to offer you an amazing offer from the Voice of Prophecy, the radio network that is sort of the parent of this show. We'll be right back.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions? Like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Does my life really matter to God? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers that you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter the most to you. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
Well, can you believe that it's already the last segment? I mean, back in college, if we had I took business communications and speech classes because I was, a terrified public speaker. And if we had to speak for 3 minutes, oh, that was overwhelming. And now, we consume an hour.
Easily.
Yeah,
Right.
in minutes
Right.
because, of course, you're so chatty.
Oh, yeah. It's Chatty Jean again. Come on.
I'll bet you in the course of our marriage, I've uttered 3 words for every one you've uttered.
Oh, it would be, you know what? When we get to heaven, we can look at the records and see how close you are.
Look it up. It might be
That would
5
be
to 1 too,
interesting.
because there's hours and hours of preaching on
Well,
top of
I was
all of
going
that.
to say, since you're a public communicator for a living, that changes things a little
It
bit.
kind of does. Here's our topic today, and you know what's occurred to me is we're going to have a part 2 because we've barely touched the surface. Our topic
Yeah,
today is
great.
empty nest syndrome, and you may be listening thinking, I can't even relate to that. My kids are 5 and 10. I can't wait for them to leave home. I think you probably should do some thinking now. It's always best to look down the road. The Bible says there is wisdom in gray hair. And I've found it's a great principle to go to people who have already been through a phase of life and talk to them in
Absolutely.
advance and get ready for what's coming. It might not make sense to you now what they say.
Right.
Just like you can talk to somebody when you're 15 and say, hey, what's it like to be married? You'll never quite grasp it, but asking now is a smart move.
Yeah, because it stays with you. I think of things that when our kids were little and people who were at the stage we're at now said to us, it didn't really make sense to me necessarily then, but those words stayed with me. And I've thought back to them now that we are at this stage, and it's been helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is something Gene and I are just learning to experience. Our oldest left for college this past year. Our youngest is in boarding academy. And really for about 2/3 of each year or 3/4 of each year. Our home has been empty for a number of years now. It's just the two
Just
of
over a
us
year.
rattling
Yeah.
around in there, and we're coming to grips. And what we did for today's program, if you're just tuning in, is we decided let's go our own way and write down our thoughts on this subject and go to the Bible and so on. And it's become evident, and we were going to sit down in studio and compare notes.
Right.
And we're going through your notes, and we're in the last segment already. So here's what's going to happen, for better or for worse. I mean, if this bores the tears out of you, then tune in again. Bores you to tears, rather. Bores the tears out of you. You know what? We invent a new expression on this show every week. Go ahead and
you
use
go.
that, everybody. Go ahead and use it. You'll amaze and dazzle your friends at gatherings. We're probably going to get a second show out of this because I want to get to the male perspective and what my observations were. And I want to go to the Bible for counsel because there's actually
Yes.
grief involved in this process for a lot of people.
Right.
And I've jotted down some things too. So I think we'll get a part 2 out of this.
It'd be great to share some of the practical things we've learned too that have been helpful.
Yeah, now that
Yeah.
you've told me that I'm mellow and I have no testosterone
I didn't bring
And-
up testosterone once.
and I've basically turned into a baritone woman.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
No, I am
Well,
mellower. Come on. I mean,
yeah, you
remember
are.
the
You
smallest
are,
things
definitely.
at 19 they send you into orbit, and now it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
the roof's leaking, the car's broken. Oh well.
You're not mellow about the roof leaking.
No,
No.
no. No, I'm not. But I'm getting there. Okay.
Well-
So before the break, you were talking about, where were we? You were talking about this shift that you're hitting in your life right now where you're hanging on to the past because it's not quite done and you're looking into the future and you're not sure where you should be. Do I take advantage of all this free time that I've got and pursue some of the things that I've always wanted to pursue, your master's degree, or do I bake more because, how many more chances am I going to get to play mom with my kids and make Christmas cookies and that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I just, I want to do all of it. I just want it all. And that's sort of some of what I've experienced in this transition, and it's been surprising to me, some of it. I think, Sean, as we said, men and women experience this differently. And part of what we as women can experience, and I haven't necessarily experienced this personally, but I know friends have, is if we've been very wrapped up in being a mom, whether we've had a career or been full-time with our kids, it can be a blow to your self-esteem when the kids leave. It's like losing your job almost. And
well, there's a male-female difference. I think a lot of men suffer, what would I say? There's a lot of overwhelming grief when you lose your job. You're fired, you're laid off, or the business goes under and you're out of work, because we tend to wrap our identities up so much in
Yes.
You know,
in your
people
career.
ask a guy, "What are you?"
And what you do is what defines you. It's what gives you value
Right.
for men.
I remember about, almost a decade ago, I got so sick I had to stop work, and I
Right.
struggled for a number of days with, well, what am I?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to be the boss at this company, or I
Yeah.
used to be a speaker, I used to be a minister. What am I?
And a lot of women feel that way when the kids leave. And again, it's not just the women who have been 100% at home with their kids. It's what defined them. It's what gives them value. And I have struggled with this because, I've always felt like I've been defined in many ways, not just by my children, but my kids have always been my top priority. I mean, if I had a sick kid, I would skip the meeting. I would be late on a deadline. But I think this hasn't been as difficult for me as I thought it might be, because what I've realized is my kids are still my top priority. It's just changed. What that means and what that looks like is just a little bit different now that they're at a different stage of life. But they're still my top priority. That hasn't changed. That won't change.
What about me?
My family is my top priority.
All right. Where do
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, where am I on that list?
Yeah, you're.
Do I come after like, I don't know, cleaning the toilet?
No. We should talk about that, really, Sean. And I have that in my notes a little bit further. But honestly, focusing on your marriage and making your spouse your top priority, that's a real benefit of this phase of life. And it's a real gift that we can give our kids. For example, we have 2 daughters.
Yep.
And I feel like for me, us being able to launch our oldest child out to college on the other side of the country, of course, she had to choose that college. One of the gifts we gave her was the fact that she knows that her parents love each other and we have a healthy marriage, and she's not worried about how we're doing. She's going and she's thinking about herself, and she's not worried, wonder how mom and dad are doing. And she doesn't have to think about that. She knows we're okay, and that's a gift we've given her.
Does it ever bother you, though, that like to the world on radio and at work, we can look like June and Ward Cleaver, but your kids know the truth.
Well, that's true with
They
every
know
family,
the truth.
I hope. We're all human.
They know the truth.
Yeah.
They can undo us.
No. Yeah, they
You think
could.
you
They
think
could.
you think our parents have perfect marriage?
No. But they know it's not perfect, but they know we love each other anyway, in spite of our own flaws.
Aw, you get bigger flowers on Valentine's Day now.
I have to wait till Valentine's for flowers?
Of course, I'm a guy.
Okay. At least I'll get
You'll
flowers.
be lucky if I remember it.
No, you're very good.
You'll
about
get them
stuff
on the
like that.
15th with an apology.
No, you're not late. You're not late for anything, including anniversaries and Valentine's Day.
Nope. I
That's
always
not who
remember
you
when our
are.
anniversary is because our friend's birthday's that day.
Well, I'll take it.
Right. If you're listening, Susan, we're so sorry about ruining your birthday with our wedding. We talk about that every
did
year.
get
I
married
just
on her
snorted on the
birthday.
radio. Did you hear that? I think that's a first.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sean, too, I think there are a few things that we've intentionally tried to do. We haven't done them perfectly, but things that we have tried to do and things that others can do prior to the empty nest
Right.
that can help it go a little bit better and make it a little bit easier. So we've already talked about the fact that one of our daughters is in boarding academy. So that wasn't an easy decision for me, and you know that.
I know. I had to labor with you on that
You
one.
labored with me. She labored with me.
She did?
The youngest child.
She
Well,
did.
Our oldest, it was more of a practical decision.
Yes.
With the youngest, she worked on me for a whole year. I mean,
I want to go to the dorm?
Yes, about why it would be beneficial and blah, blah, blah. She
Good girl,
wore
Naomi.
me down for
Good girl, Naomi.
She wore me down for a whole year. But here's why I bring this up. I don't like it. If I had a choice, they would be with me
Until they're 82?
No, I would let them go for college.
No, you
but
wouldn't. No, you
I
wouldn't.
would.
No,
I
if
would.
it was up to you entirely, they'd be home with you until you die.
Well, yeah, probably, if I'm really honest. But listen, the reality is, you and I, very intentionally, when our kids were still little, we made a decision that we would make choices for them that would help them to be independent.
Yes.
Maybe that's a product of us. I mean, we say we're immigrants. We are. We left our family in Canada and moved to here in the U.S. And have kind of
Yeah.
had to function on our own.
And I became an American 2 months ahead of you. It wasn't easy to live with a
Rub it
foreigner
in.
as a wife for 2 months. That wasn't easy at all.
But we're all Americans now.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we are.
Canadians. We're
And
dual
Canadian,
citizens. Yeah. So I know we call it our immigrant. It's not like what some people have gone through. But really, we have had maybe a little bit of a different perspective in raising our daughters, being that we had to move to a new place. We had to set out. We had to branch out on our own.
Start over.
And we realized the value of being able to do that in our own lives, and we intentionally wanted that for our daughters.
Right.
So we made choices, being a pastor, this was an easy choice, but we moved multiple times. We've lived in all 4 quadrants of the country, so our kids have had a variety of cultural experiences. We did that intentionally so that when they eventually get married, they will be adaptable. They marry someone who wants to move them who knows where. Our girls will be, let's do it. I've lived lots of different places. They're up for adventure and they're independent.
So that helped you prepare for the moment when they leave, knowing they were ready for it.
Yeah, because we set this groundwork in place. What we did is we helped them differentiate. So this is a really vital step for young adults, whether they're in a boarding academy or in your home. Kids, when they hit about 13, they are trying to establish themselves as independent individuals from their parents. Hello, we all know that.
I noticed, yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there,
But I kind
and
of
we've all seen it.
I kind of liked that.
It's kind of a neat phase. And what our deliberate choices have meant is that our kids are very much, when Natalie left home, she was an independent young lady. She was young. A lot of kids, she was only 17, not quite 18 when she left. But she already had matured socially. She'd had to become independent academically. And most importantly, this is what was most important, spiritually.
Right.
She made the decision to follow God because she wanted to, nothing to do with us. And that's part of that, giving them that independence. And then because we made those choices when they were adolescents, that has really helped them, and it has helped us during this phase, even though, as I said, some of those growing pains have been hard on me, and I don't know I would have chosen them unless I was forced to, but they have been the right decisions, and they have helped these girls, and they have helped us in this process. They've helped me to know that they're ready for the world.
So you're telling me
ready.
You're doing okay with it?
Yeah. It's not
most days.
And if I'm glad we're going to do another program, because there are some things I have learned that make this easier.
Yep.
And things that I do to myself that make it harder. And I think it'd be great to talk about some of those practical things as well.
I came in today with about 20 solutions from the Bible for dealing with that sort of break in the family.
Right.
And we also, I wrote down 5 things that I think make that phase tough, and probably from a male perspective, and the things that and we're running out of time. There's like 51 seconds left in the program. So here's what's going to happen. There's going to be a part 2, empty nest part 2, because I'd like to pick this up again. And maybe this doesn't interest anybody, but hey, keep this recording on your laptop, because parents of young children, in about 13 years, you're going to need this.
Yes.
And grandparents, maybe think back to what it was like when you were going through this, and be ready to help your kids when they hit that stage when their kids leave home.
Yeah,
and it's something we all
absolutely.
go through, and it's what you actually want to happen. It's what you want to happen. You don't want your kids living at home when they're 50. Well, maybe you do, but all right, that's it for this week. I can hear the music playing, which tells me it is time to stop being chatty and let you go back to the life that you've got this week. Until next time, I'm Sean, and this is my wife, Jean, and this is Disclosure from the Voice of Prophecy. Until next time.